just waiting for the
Oh,
live stream to prepare, and then I'll turn the live stream off, and
brilliant.
then we can go. Yeah, so all ready and set up to go, and I am so delighted to be able to introduce to you tonight Yetunde Animation and Pira Muthu, and who's going to be, I'm sorry if I didn't get that quite right. So you can say it again because they're going to introduce, tell you much more about themselves, and and to actually be looking at a session about how to navigate your career.
Yeah,
Over to you guys.
amazing. Thank you so much, Maria, for the introduction. And happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to our session on navigating your career successfully. As Mariam said, my name is Yetunde. I also go by Yeti as well. And we're also joined by Pira on the call. And this session's all about navigating your career successfully, some of the hints, tips, tricks, and effectively coaching around your career, what steps you can take to help you, and some exercises. So it is going to be a very interactive session. It is Friday, so let us know what the vibe and energy is as well. We want to interact with you and ensure that you get the most out of these sessions. So in terms of our agenda today, we'll start off with some introductions to ourselves, myself and Pira.
I'm just going to get it.
Oh, if it's okay, because people go on mute. Thank you. Introductions to ourselves will be where we start. We'll then have a little bit of an icebreaker. I call it a way for us to just get to know each other and get to know our expectations for this evening. Then the real big bulk of the session will be what Pira does around career coaching, navigating your career successfully. And we will leave space as well for any questions that you might have. Feel free to interact with us in this session. We want it to be as engaging as possible. And yeah, we're really looking forward to your participation here. And there will be some key takeaways as well. So we want this session to be something that you take back with you, you utilize, and that will help you alongside your career journey. Okay. I'll start with a quick introduction to myself. So my name is Yetunde, and everyone does call me Yeti. I am the founder of Tech 432. Tech 432 is a social enterprise that works with young underrepresented groups, helping them get into sustainable employment. We provide workshop sessions like this. We provide coaching. We look at CVs. We even go to schools as well to reach young people at a really pivotal age, just to talk to them about careers and what the opportunities are and what the future can look like for them. I'm super passionate about people, social mobility, and just parity in general. So it's really important for me to have a social enterprise like this, which just helps give back to my community and also supports them in finding their desired careers. And then we also have Pira. Pira, do you want to say a quick intro?
Hi everyone, happy Friday, and thank you for sticking it out with us on your Friday evening. We really appreciate all of the enthusiasm and everything going on in the chat as well. And hopefully this is going to be an interesting event for you and really fruitful and have some takeaways. So my background is that I started off as an accountant and then decided to pack that in because I figured bean counting wasn't my forte, and then got into the world of recruitment, and I did that for about 4.5 years, and I had a lot of fun doing that, and then the role just got a little bit repetitive. I recruited for like the Big Four and like the NHS and all of these really cool industries, and then I thought, actually I'm not being challenged enough, and then I kind of got headhunted by Accenture, and which is where I met the beautiful Yeti, and I started my journey in the recruitment team firstly, and then someone in the M&A team came and poached me, and so I've been doing mergers and acquisitions and consulting within that. So I've had, if there's any questions around career changes, I mean, I know how to work a CV is all I'm trying to say. So had a few lives, and I promise you I'm not that old. I only graduated about 7 or 8 years ago, but it seems like like millions of years ago. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. But my passion is making sure that underrepresented groups really get their time in the limelight. I think we don't ask for enough pay. I don't think we go for the ambitious roles that we want to go for. I don't think we are mentored and championed as much as we could be in the working community. And I really want you to take away from me that if I can do it, that you can as well. I came here as a refugee, like I couldn't speak a word of English. And then luckily I was academically inclined. So I went to state schools, eventually got into a grammar school and then a scholarship for university. And that's literally how I've managed to work my way up. So if I can do it, you can definitely do it. So I'm just going to give you the kind of cheat code to how I've managed to make it. And I'm sure that you guys are going to have much more thriving careers than I am. But that's a passion, and that's why I'm here today, to share some joy, share some helpful hints and tips, and hopefully one day I'll be knocking on your doors for a job.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Pira. No, really, really insightful. It's just happy to have Pira. Pira has such a wealth of experience and knowledge in this area, and it's just so great at, allowing people to see where, their strengths are, enabling people to see any gaps in, say, what they think about, like what their careers and things, just open up opportunities, and just, so super, super excited to go into this session. I had a quick sort of like icebreaker question, and I'd love for everyone to participate, and please feel free to put this in the chat. I know there's quite a few of us, so I don't think we could go through everyone, but it's, if you can say your name, where you've dialed in from, and some of the things you expect to learn this evening. I can't see the chat, so I think Marianne, you said you will.
Just people are just thinking about where they're from and what they're doing. And maybe it takes a little while for people to get to the keyboard.
Yeah. And it is a Friday, so which is the added action.
And also people can put their hands up if they want to talk and just say hi.
Yes.
So Amalia's from Buenos Aires hopes to learn to navigate career change and tools to start that effectively.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Brenda.
And Nia is based in Indiana, USA, and I'm expecting lots of useful tips on how to find a place for me in my career choice.
Brilliant. Thank you, Nia. And welcome. So great to have you here all the way from there. So that's amazing. Amazing. Yeah. And if anyone does want to go off mute and just say like a quick hi, where they're from, it's welcomed.
Yeah. And Bertha from London, career change, is a career changer. I hope to get some tips and tricks on how I can make my CV stand out for when I apply for tech jobs.
Brilliant. Tips and tricks. Sounds good. Okay. Maybe we should do one more if there are.
And Liliana, I'm in London, and wants more information about career changing.
Career changes. Well, you're in the right space, everyone. We've got you covered today. So we're going to go through things like navigating your career changes. There's some exercises that Pira will be doing as well around like thinking about your careers as well. We'll also offer some input and advice around some of the steps you can be taking today to maximize your career potential right now. Career navigation is a tricky thing. I know sometimes because we've been in our first careers at the start, we think, oh, is this where we will end up? But no, the opportunities are endless. You can change your career at any point. So we just want to remind you around that. Where you start now today is not where you finish. So your career can look so different a month away from now. And overall, our objectives will be today to equip you with the knowledge and information you need to become successful in your careers. We want to share, I know we're really keen on sharing our personal experiences and some of the challenges we may have went through as well, and lessons learned, because in the industries that we work in, there's so many lessons learned. I know from an M&A perspective, recruiter's perspective, I know from my perspective, joining a grad scheme a while back, there's so many lessons that I learned as well in terms of my career, and so many things I probably would have done a little bit differently. We want to equip you with some tips and tricks as well to help you along your career journey. And with this session, all we ask for is for you to, of course, participate with the exercises. Yeah, make the most of the time here. Make the most of, if you have any questions as well, please feel free to shoot your hand up. We are friendly faces. We would love to help you and support you. Have fun with these sessions as well. Nothing, yeah, it's never too serious. So have fun, like talk about things that you have experienced, and no idea or anything that you share would ever be taken as a bad idea as well. And Pira and I have like some knowledge in this areas in industry. So if there's some questions you can't get answered today, feel free to reach out to us possibly after, and we can have like resources, or maybe even have a coffee chat with you just to so you can answer your questions there. And lastly, there is a call to action as well. So today we really want you involved in this. So like you, as you participate, you'll be able to see ways in which you can help your career. So take notes, participate, see the unlimited potential of what you can be as well. So that's something I wanted to share. And the next slide is just a little bit about Tech 432. I won't delve into this too much, but as mentioned, they do have a social enterprise, and it's all about workshops such as this. We do them face-to-face and online, and we equip young people, underrepresented groups with core, say, tech skills, develop and employability skills as well, just to increase their employment opportunities. And our mission is to empower these young underrepresented groups. As Pira mentioned as well, I'm super passionate about underrepresented groups. Sometimes we don't get the opportunities that we need and that we are capable of achieving, but sometimes it's just we don't know what we don't know. And from my perspective as well, I grew up from a really poor background, from a social mobility perspective, and there were some challenges and no one that I could ask about questions like, how do I do my CV? There were no examples in front of me, so I found that really challenging. And in my area, a lot of people were involved in some of the wrong things. So the way I wanted to go into corporate, a lot of people weren't going into that. So I didn't have people to have like a sounding board and ask questions around, how do you do this? I want to work in an office one day. Like, what does that look like? So that's why I'm super passionate about creating these opportunities where people can ask and get answered any questions that they do have, because it might be a little bit harder for us as well. And why I say it might be a little bit harder is the stats. I'm a user researcher by trade, so I love research, numbers, all of those things as well. But some of the things that I've gathered from the research is that, unfortunately, for some communities, say for example, Black men, it's 4 times more likely for them to be unemployed in London compared to white graduates. For Black graduates, it's 3 times harder for them to find roles after graduating. Like, these are some of the challenges that we do face, and I've seen statistics around only 2% of the tech workforce is Black women. So in these industries and spaces, it can be quite challenging to actually get our foot in the door. This is why organizations and social enterprises like Tech 432 exist, to create those opportunities, or at least make it easier to get your foot into the door. So yeah, that's why we exist. And the other thing I wanted to say, I mentioned here, I have a stat here around 0.7% of Black women in the UK work in the IT industry. So that was a stat I saw in research actually looking into coding Black females. And that is in comparison to 1.8% of the UK's entire workforce. So I don't mean to lament everyone with like really bad stats around this particular industry, but why it's so key for us to have workshops like this is to share our knowledge and resources so that we can make those changes in these industries and mitigate this and help create opportunities for people that look like us to excel in these industries, which is why I want to hand it over to Pira now, just where she'll share navigating your career. And I've shared like the stats around it, why it's challenging, but Pira is now going to give you sort of like the advice, the steps, and how you can navigate your career now, because it doesn't have to look like this. And so I'll hand it over to you, Pira. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Letty. And I think the other thing around what you were saying is so important is that the world is made up of so many diverse communities. And so if the tech is not being built by us and for our communities, then we're going to have other people with certain biases that are going to create this. And the way that I look at this, and people always say to me, how do you still operate in this DE&I space and not get so disheartened? I'm really fortunate enough, that when we were growing up as a child, that we didn't have anyone using wheelchairs, for example, within the household. So our home wasn't as accessible, right, to a wheelchair user, and we never had to really think about it because that was just not our reality. And then a few years ago, my dad became a wheelchair user, and then our entire house had to change. Now, that's not to say that we were ever against enabling people with different accessibility needs. It's just that our world didn't look like that. And so what we now have is these different powerhouses for historical reasons, etc., holding these levers, and they just haven't had to ever think about the world from a different perspective, right? And so we now need to empower ourselves and say, hey, we now have a seat at the table. Now, we can deal with the historical stuff, but let's look at the modern day right now. Yes, we can resolve and get into reconciliation there, but we shouldn't then be so distracted with the history that we're not dealing with the present day, especially as we get into the world of tech and AI, etc., making sure that these technologies don't have the same biases that our ancestors have really fought hard to fight against. And so, the courses that you might do might be challenging, and Mariam will tell you that I'm actually utilizing some of the CBF resources to go and get an AWS qualification. And I want to get into another career change. I mean, gosh, can I have any more career changes? But, it's been super challenging. And when I have those days, I think, if I'm not doing this and I throw the towel in today, that means that is going to stop someone else coming in. And if I can open this door with all of the privileges that I have, and I work hard and I understand this, that means that there's going to be a kid one day that looks up to me and says, hey, can I do this? And I say, yeah, it was challenging, but we can do this. And so that's why Yeti and I are so passionate about it, because yes, it's daunting seeing these figures, but by all means, it's so possible. A bit of hard work and perseverance and resilience can take you so far, and we can change these numbers. Because at some point, we didn't have the right to vote, we didn't, couldn't go to the same universities and schools as these people, and so now we can. So can you imagine the change that we can do if we just stand on those shoulders? So hopefully it's a story of hope as well.
Absolutely, thank you for it. It's true.
Thank you. So this is going to be quite an interactive session. So if you and I am all about the mind, body and soul connection. So I am also going to be doing this with you guys. I like to write down things because often as you're typing, a lot of the kind of that connection can get lost. And it's not to say that we won't have a keyboard, and we will be using a bit of ChatGPT at one point, but I do just really want you to take the time to just write down certain things. And we won't get through, 15-20 minutes of this kind of brainstorming, but really I want you to utilize this time to start thinking about some of these questions around your career. And the reason being is because we're so distracted by phones and Netflix and Prime and all of these things. None of what I'm going to teach you is reinventing the wheel, but actually I want to make this interactive so that you could, rather than scrolling on your phone, take that time for yourself, own that time and say, do you know what? I really want to navigate my career. I'm not going to let all of this biases that exist in the world, etc., hold me down, and that fear hold me down. I'm really going to drive my career, and I'm going to pick where I want to be. I'm going to do this. And sometimes you just need a little bit of silence and a little bit of alone time. I say alone time, you're going to be with a room full of us, but we're all going to be thinking about the same thing. And just use this as a motivational time to think everyone else in this room is sitting there, think about how to drive their careers. And I want that too, because it's amazing what you can do when you allocate that time to then be able to pursue it, because sometimes we don't even know where our goals are. So this is what this session is going to really be. I'm going to let you, I didn't want to say, oh, you could go into this career and this career and this career, because actually on our fingertips right now, we know about 50 million careers that we can go into. But I really want you to start thinking about what your strengths are, what your so some of the things that don't necessarily light your fire. We're going to look at those things and think, okay, we're going to try and pursue careers that really do light our fire. And that, I think, is where you're going to really excel. So yeah, that's a little synopsis of what we've got in tail. And then we'll go into, our content. So really, the first section I really want to do is there's 3 parts about why people really struggle with their careers. So the first is if you think about it, you're in a jungle and you are trying to get out of this jungle and you think, how do I get out? Right. So first of all, knowing where you even want to get out. Do you want to get out into Birmingham, or do you want to get out into London? We don't even know where we're going. Sometimes life just carries us. And I really want this session for you to take a few little tools and a few little exercises that we do to be like, do I want to be in London, or do I want to be in Birmingham, or do I want to be in Manchester? Heck, do I even want to be in Dubai? Like, let's just take it out and just think, where is our North Star? And then when you're trying to get out of this jungle, also knowing where you are is super critical. So knowing, actually, I'm midway here, I'm closer to Manchester than I am to Birmingham, blah, blah, blah. So you need to really think about where it is that you are in relation to where you want to go. So that's going to be the second part. And then the third part is, how do we do that in the most efficient way? How do we get from A to Z? So we know where we are, we know where we want to get to. How do I get there in the quickest steps? Because that's where the fun is. And how do I enjoy that journey, right? Because everyone always tells us that's what happiness is enjoying the ride, not just getting to the destination. So those are the three components. And that's what I really thought about, and just help you with some exercise. Because I think there's these things where we say, oh, what do you want to do? And that's such a big question. So I've got real questions about how it is that we figure out what it is that you want to do. Where are you now? Like, what is it that you're doing? What's making you happy? I don't even think, most people don't journal these days, so we don't even know what's making us happy. So even just taking up 5-6 minutes of this session to even figure out what's making you spark and what's really depleting your energy is super, super critical. And then we just need to marry the two and think, okay, we just need to get from one place to another, because that is all your career is. And the other thing that I want you to also know is, I think everyone thinks that, people like me or Yeti, or even, people like Bill Gates and all of these people, that they know where their end destination is. I promise you, when Jeff Bezos started off Amazon, he did not think it was going to be a cloud computing service and that, they were going to sell all these goods. Actually, he just wanted to sell some books. And this is what you need to remember. Like, at every stage in your career, you can pivot. And I hope my story showed to you that it can both be, two things can be the same. You can enjoy where you are at the moment, but also want something different. So don't feel like that you have to just stay where you are, or that you can't change that end goal. As life happens, you might meet someone, you might end up having a child, or you might meet a new friend that tells you about a new career, and it's okay to pivot. But what we need to do is get that motion that we're driving in a general direction, and then we can pivot based on new things that come into our life. And that's the spice of life that we get to have. We get to pick and we get to change our minds, and that's okay too. And then the last bit is the practical advice. So this is going to be around competency questions, strength-based interviews. I know that Accenture uses those things, and a lot of the Big Four also use that too. So I want to also just give you a few bits about what to think about and why they use those different techniques. And once you know the why, it gets much easier to do the interview. And then also talking a little bit about negotiating salaries. I think some of you have already gone onto that session earlier on today, but if you didn't or missed it or need just a refresher, I've just put a few questions as an ex-recruiter, how we kind of pulled some strings. I thought it might be good to give you some insights how to do that as well. So yes, that's a little overview.
Thank you. Sorry, just leaving.
Thanks, Yeti.
Just a comment, actually. If we don't build for ourselves, for us, we will have no say in what is available to us. And so, brilliant point, Pira.
Yeah,
I agree.
That was from Amalia.
Amazing. So this is the next thing. So how do you find your North Star? So this is exactly the point that I was making. People don't know where they want to go, where you are right now, and how do I get to my destination? These are the main issues that I find. And if you really think about your career changes, or actually what career to get into from initially, these are the three blockers that I usually find. So anytime that you're having any questions in your mind about, oh, I don't know about this, if you have this slide, and I'm sure Mariam will send this around, really you can go back to each one of these 3 sections and you can think, oh, is it that I don't know where I need to go? What exercise can I do? Oh, I don't know where I am right now. What's the exercise that I need to do? So I want this to be a really helpful, practical guide that you can come back to time and time and again. I've spent a lot of time reading like self-development books, and I've got this is not techniques that I've created by any stretch of the imagination, but these are pros that have gone to Harvard University, Stanford, that I've spent a lot of time doing this. So what I've tried to do is synthesize this all for you and do a couple of techniques, and you might find that one technique is more helpful than another technique. So don't be afraid that, oh, I don't like that technique, I prefer this one. Do what suits you. So I've given you like a flavor of a few, and we'll start a few of them, but what you'll find that 1 or 2 exercises really, if you're a writer, what one thing appeals to you more than the other. So don't be afraid to just, shun the others and pick one. But I just wanted to give you the chance and an opportunity to try out different things, because this is just going to be the start of your kind of navigating your career. So yes, that's the section. So this is the principle that underpins everything that we're doing today, and it's a principle called wayfinding, and this is the methodology by which it's a bit like Christopher Columbus. He kind of knew that there was a country that he wanted to get to. He didn't know how he was going to get there. And remember, Christopher Columbus took money from the government at the time to go and to try and find India in a completely different direction. He just kind of knew, if I sail this way, I'll get there. And that is essentially what we're doing with our careers. We're all kind of, and everyone, no matter how senior, junior they are, we're all trying to get to this North Star, and we just want to get to this island somewhere, but we don't know where we're quite going, but we just kind of go in a general direction, and we'll use stars, and we'll use we'll look at the constellations and think, oh, it might be that way, it might be this way, and then we kind of get to the end destination that we want to get to. And Christopher Columbus is a great example, because actually he wanted to get to India and he got to the Americas. But hey, he made a lot of money and became very famous from it. And it was a completely different area, completely different demographic. And that's how most people's careers end up. They think they want one thing. And through that journey, and through using different stimulations in their life, whether that be the environment, the choppy waters, they end up somewhere else and they end up benefiting from it. So this is how your careers are going to be. So don't be afraid of that change and ending up somewhere that you didn't think that you were going to be when you set off.
Yeah.
So this is the next section. So finding your North Star. So we've got a couple of techniques that we're going to do. So if you could kindly move on to the next slide. Getty, thank you so much. So this is the first exercise, and I'm going to sit here and do this with you, and I'm going to put myself on for a 4-minute timer as well. Think about yourself as a guest to a TED Talk. And this is like the big TED Talk, not the TEDx London, TEDx this. No. This is like you're a special guest. You've been invited. You've got Jeff Bezos in the front row, and you are a speaker, and you are looking at yourself 20 years from now. What is your TED conference going to be about? What's your TED Talk going to be about? And really don't think about any fears. Don't think about anything else. If you could go up there 20 years from now, you might be 40, 45. What will you be doing your talk on? And so think about that. And then it could be any career. You could have multiple careers. There's no right or wrong answer. I just want you to sit and think about the first thing or few things that come to mind, and I'll put a timer on. If anyone needs help or direction on that, I can clarify that. But I think if I just be quiet for a couple of moments, you guys will be able to start that. So I'm just going to start the timer now. Just wanted to let everyone know there's 2 minutes left. So if you are thinking of any ideas, just make sure you get that pen and paper. And I'm just freestyling. I'm not even making full sentences, just writing. And there's 40 seconds left. Amazing. So hopefully you guys have written at least a few bullet points, or even if it's just one idea and you've managed to expand that. Does anyone want to share what they've written? There's absolutely no pressure to. But if anyone did, oh, I love this. Treza has written, my TED Talk would be about the opportunities that young underrepresented people now have and what things people put in place to create a path for others to follow. Essentially describing the path making process we're currently in now, which will make the process easier for future generations. That's so beautiful. And hopefully, right, if we do this well, then there won't be a need for these type of TED Talks anymore because it would just be the norm, right? Like make ourselves redundant. I think Yeti and I are always consultants forever, trying to keep us out, get ourselves out of a job. But that is so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that and being vulnerable. And it's a completely safe space, but it's just beautiful. And I think that's wonderful. Does anyone else want to share anything? No pressure to. Oh, Liliana, yes, I can see a hand up.
Yeah, I've written like my TED Talk would be like about do it with fear, but do it. And then just explain how I felt fearful when I decided to go back to uni to transition from non like tech background to cybersecurity, how I felt fearful when I decided to become a keynote speaker and opening my first business. And then regardless what happened whilst I was doing all of that, and even with the fear, I was able to accomplish what I accomplished. So whenever you feel like that, just remember me.
Oh, Liliana, it's so beautiful. And that's the thing, right? Like no one is not fearful. Like it's like feeling the fear and doing it. That's the difference, right? It's like everyone is scared. Like I was fearful of coming onto this session and talking and rambling and all of these things. And it's like when you're fulfilling a bigger purpose, you have to get yourself out of there because you think I have all of this knowledge and all of this experience. Even if I'm fumbling, if it helps one person, then I've done my job. And it's the same with you, right? You definitely had a purpose when you were making those job changes, and it's just feeling that fear and thinking there's a bigger purpose. I need to be here. I need to represent, and shift that pedestal from one step to the other. Amazing. And Naya, you've put in there, my TED Talk would be about storytelling and animation, also how important Black characters are in animated movies and how we can make them anything like inventors, steampunk, cyberpunk, etc. Oh, that's wonderful. Also, I would encourage people to have a commonplace book and to take breaks from socials and come up with ideas and be in touch with the world more. I could go on all day, lol. Oh, I'm there for these sessions that you've got. Get away from socials. I love this. I love it. And so Amalia put that she loves your steampunk idea as well. And Awa would say I would highlight how lost I was before building a network and meeting confident people. Oh, that's wonderful. I love that. Like everyone's about sense of connection and connectivity and like stepping out of your comfort zone. Like these are common themes that I'm seeing, which is super, super wonderful. I love all of these ideas. I would come to every one of your TED Talks. Please also sponsor me, Yeti and Mariam, to come into your TED Talks that you're doing them. Even if it's at the back, we'll just be doing lights and cameras, okay?
Yeah, no, yeah, you should email me because let's touch base because I know quite a lot of writers and story. That's my background is writing and stuff. So yeah, let's keep in touch.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. Amazing. And now the next one is your eulogy prompt. This is sounds way more down than it actually is. But what would people that you've positively impacted by your work during your eulogy say about you? And if you go on to the next slide, Yetunde, I think I might have put yes, mine. So I thought I would be vulnerable and share what mine is. But it's like I've broken it down into relationship work. You can do whatever you want in that. But essentially it's about being present with people that I love, making them feel that I'm very interested in them, like that I'm joyful and loving with the people that are around me, that I was open and expressive, always having an air of lightness and positivity and playfulness, never being too serious about life. In terms of work, I want to be able to contribute by making sure that people achieve their potential, whether it's through writing, whether it's through books, articles, public talks, working with government bodies. Like I have one of my biggest bugbears in this country is how we have PHSE lessons and we do not talk about mortgages. We don't talk about how to set up your own limited company. And like we waste those valuable hours not doing tax returns. Why don't we get taught about credit scores? Like, and I genuinely would love to shift that because forget by 18, doing extra 2 years of maths. How about just practical life lessons about how to pay a utility bill and the importance of building a credit score from 16, 17? So that is something that I'm on my life mission to change, and just helping other people find their purpose. So this is what I would want my eulogy prompts to be. And then what we can do is once we do that is then put it into ChatGPT and say, please write a eulogy for Pyrrha based on all of these prompts, and it should write one for us. So I will put the little link for ChatGPT in the chat as well with you guys, but I will give you 4 minutes to just write some of these prompts. It doesn't have to be extensive, but we can do that. And then within a minute, we can put it all into ChatGPT, and then you can have a eulogy to look back on and then work your way backwards to see what we need to do to get there. So I will start the timer now.
And just to add, every single thing that Pyrrha has included here is literally true, like relationships and things like that. So yeah, absolutely. I'll be doing mine in the background as well.
Thank you. And I've just popped in the link for ChatGPT, or you can use Bard, whichever one that you have got a free account with. And then you can just put in the prompt, please write a eulogy for and your name with the following characteristics, the points that you've made. And then it should, within seconds, create your eulogy for you. And we have just about a minute to do that. Amazing. And the time is now up. Does anyone want to share their eulogy? No pressure to, because I can imagine that it might be a slightly morbid one, but hopefully worth it so that you kind of work your way backwards, but absolutely no pressure to as well, guys. Oh, Treza, I hope I'm pronouncing your name properly. Treza, please correct me when you come off.
Oh yeah, it's Trezor.
Trezor.
So I'm gonna. It's kind of long, but it says, "Together we gather to honor and celebrate the extraordinary life of Trezor, a remarkable woman whose compassion, selflessness, and unwavering dedication to others touched the hearts of all who knew her. Trezor embodied the true essence of empathy and kindness, always putting the needs of others before her own and going above and beyond to uplift and support those around her. Her legacy is one of profound impact and enduring kindness as she touched the lives of countless individuals with her thoughtful advice, unwavering support, and compassionate spirit. In her professional endeavors, Trezor made significant contributions to the mental health advocacy, particularly within ethnic minority communities. With courage and determination, she fearlessly confronted the stigma surrounding mental health, sparking vital conversations and fostering a culture of understanding and acceptance. Trezor's tireless efforts paved the way for a greater awareness and support for individuals facing mental health challenges, leaving an indelible mark on the landscape of mental health advocacy and empowerment. Beyond her professional pursuits, Trezor possessed a unique ability to use beauty, such as makeup, as a powerful tool for unity and connection within communities, recognizing the transformative power of beauty in fostering bonds and breaking down barriers. She brought people together with her inclusive and uplifting approach. Through her passion for beauty and her unwavering commitment to building bridges, Trezor enriched the lives of those around her, leaving behind a legacy of unity, joy, and shared, I don't have to say that word, camaraderie.
Camaraderie, yeah.
Camaraderie. Trezor will be remembered not only for her remarkable achievements, but also for her boundless compassion, selflessness, and unwavering dedication to making the world a better place. Her legacy of kindness and advocacy will continue to inspire and uplift us all, guiding us to strive for a brighter and compassionate future. Though Trezor may no longer be with us in person, wow, her spirit will live on in the hearts of all those who were fortunate enough to know her, and her impact will be felt for generations to come.
Oh, that gave me like chills. Oh, wow. The work around mental health, makeup, like you have touched it all, girl. Like, wow, like that is so impressive. And I think what this exercise also shows us is like we think that we have all of this like time, and we do have a lot of time, don't get me wrong, but it's so nice to be able to think, if this is the legacy that I want to leave, how do I work backwards from that, right? Because I think the mundane of life gets a hold of us, and actually thinking about how is it that I want to remember, what actions can I take, is super important. And I don't expect you guys to read that eulogy every day, but like every once a quarter, just whipping it out and being like, am I taking those steps to get myself to this person? Is a wonderful reminder. Because I have mine, and I look at it every kind of 6 weeks and think, is this the type of person that I am? Trezor, you've got your hand up. Yes.
Yeah, so I didn't know this, like, I've never heard of this exercise before, but it was kind of like nice to kind of see, like, rather than just thinking about yourself, it's just like, oh, what I'm doing, how would people look at me in the future?
Mm.
And what impact am I having on others? Because there's a way that you can be so focused on, I want a career, I want to get a job, I want to, get money, but like thinking about like how would I be remembered? Yeah, it kind of made me tear up a little bit. That was nice. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing as well, like, and being vulnerable. I love, this is what I'm taking away from this group. We are like so open. Thank you for being open with your hearts, and yeah, everything. We really appreciate it. Anyone else want to share anything? No pressure to. Amazing. If not, we can go on to the next prompt.
Sorry, it's stuck.
Okay, it's just tech. Amazing. So this is our next one, which is the Fearless Dream prompt. So this is saying, if I didn't have any fear in the world, like anything, what in respect of health, work, or relationships, you can pick one, you can do all three. What would I do? So what would I like to learn? What would I like to try? How would I like to experiment? And what is the impact that action is going to have on the communities that I want? So for example, I thought I would get your like creative juices flowing and just say, and this is to think about if no one was watching. So if I didn't have my family, my friends, or anything, and no one cared about what I was doing, I would write a book about how to find your North Star, and like really about like the hints and tips that I found since leaving university to date. And there'd be no pressure for it to be a Sunday Times bestseller or on the New York list. Like it would just be, I would just produce it. And then the other thing that I would love to do is like do what I'm currently doing right now, but as a stage show. So like a bit like Jay Shetty or Tim Ferriss, those guys that come in as motivational speakers. So it would be like a bit of like the stuff that Jay Shetty does about like mental health and well-being and finding purpose, with like practical advice about how you could then use that to then arm yourself with finding a career and how to make the most out of the careers that you're currently in. So that is what I would do. And that would be like completely without fear and judgment. If no one was looking, that is what I would do. So hopefully that's given you a few areas, but you can do other areas in your life that you might want to also pick up on as well, whether it's like, I want to be the fittest I've ever been and, the most shredded, or, anything like that. I just want you guys to put that down, because that will help us navigate other areas of your working life. So I will give you guys 4 minutes to do that. And the timer starts now. And we have 1 minute left. Amazing. So that's the time up. Does anyone want to share what their Fearless Dream prompt is? No pressure as always, but if you did, would love to hear. Or even if you want to type it in and put it into the chat as well, that's perfectly okay. Awesome. I think, Yeti, if we could move on, and actually, if I could ask, just in the interest of time, if we could jump, because I will send the slides with, there's another 2 prompts that we could do, but just want to get on to some and like leave enough time for everyone to be able to ask questions, etc. at the end as well. If we could, Yeti, move on to slide 12, if that's possible, or the one which says taking stock of where you are right now. So a few slides. Yes. Amazing. So this is going to be the next section because we've done 2 activities now on kind of finding where we want to be, right? So we had Trezor saying like how she wants to be remembered, like the whole kind of career, etc. So we know the general direction of where we want to go, whether that's with makeup or technology or with animation, for example. So we've got that. So we remember the second part was like being like, I'm in this jungle, I need to know where I am and which city am I even close to. So that's the next section that we're going to really focus on. So if we could kindly move on to the next slide. Amazing. So this is about the work audit. So this is going to be super interesting. So there's 2 things that we need to do on this. So firstly, write kind of the current tasks that we're doing at the moment in terms of our work life. And if you're a student, the kind of, whether it's your projects, writing essays, it could be anything like that. Or even if it's like volunteering, something that you're doing in kind of a more structured work kind of capacity. And obviously, if you're in your day-to-day job, for me, it's like going through Excel spreadsheets, answering emails, going on telephone calls with people, my team. And what we want to divide it into is what is currently working and what is currently not working. And so though that can be what is currently working is generally, I want you to put like a plus if it's like something that really energizes you. So doing these type of sessions really energizes me. Even though I'm not the best at it, I'm sure if Jay Shetty was here, he'd be doing a far better job than me. But I don't want you to do it as an exercise where you're thinking, am I the best at this? No, it's just what's energizing you. If it's a task that's you're neutral about, I don't know, for me, it's going through emails. I don't find it particularly draining, but I don't find it particularly energizing either. So I'd put that as a neutral. And then what is not working is definitely things that are draining you. So if you're going into presentations and that's really draining you, or that could be making sales pitches and that's really draining you, just really putting those negative marks there will show you. The reason why I'm asking you guys to do that is because there are certain things like, public speaking, I'm not the best at it, but because it's something that I enjoy doing, I would say that that's more of a strength. The things that you're putting down as a negative with like a negative next to it or a minus next to it, that those are the things that, some people might deem as a weakness. And what I want you to think is you don't really want to be leaning into that. Your careers, we don't really want you to be spending 80% of your time doing things that are draining you or that you're not getting fulfillment from. So this is really just taking that time to just write down those things and then thinking about how much of your time is being split into those activities. So I will just pop up 4 minutes on the timer for you guys, and then I'll do like a minute reminder as well so that you can do that. So timer starts now.
I think you're getting calls for being a speaker already, Pira. Amalia said, no, Pira, we want you. So, Jay.
Thank you so much. Oh, and Naya, thank you for saying you would learn engineering, physics, dance. Oh, you could do all of these things. I just want you to remember life is long, and you can definitely do them. Yeah, and I definitely want to be muscular too. Let's up the protein and get to the gym.
Yeah, that's my aim in 2024.
I'll see you at the competitions, you know, where they're all muscly and oared up, Yeti.
Yeah.
They're doing our power poses. And we have just under 2 minutes left. So if you haven't started putting your pluses and minuses, I'd suggest you start thinking about doing that. Amazing. So that is the timer up. I don't know if anyone wants to share anything around whether it's positive or negative, anything that drains you, anything that you recharges you and uplifts you, anything like that. Or even put it in the chat. So what's working, Trezor? Creating PowerPoint presentations. Can I pay you to do all my PowerPoint presentations? Because they are my living nightmare, trying to get all of that consistency, creativity, teamwork, selling and presenting my ideas. Neutral is public speaking, leadership, working under pressure, what's not working, reading, researching. I can be your understudy. I love reading and researching, so I'm happily going to volunteer my time for you to do that, Drizzle. So thank you. And what I want you guys to realize is, actually, as part of this exercise is, if you're doing a lot of your tasks that you've thought about, if there's a lot of minuses, then think about actually speaking to your manager to see if there are things that you would like to be doing. So the positive side of things, can you do more of that? You don't necessarily have to change your role, but is it like they call it like a bubble assignment? Can you take on something extra or work alongside another team to get that exposure? So that's kind of the first step. But then the second step is actually, are there other roles within your business? And what I would highly recommend you doing before, I don't know, say I wanted to work in CBF, what I would first do is, rather than just apply, I might ring Mariam up and say, hey, Mariam, like, you do all this cool work. How does this, like, these are the things that I'm interested in. Is this what you're doing the majority of your time? And Mary might be like, no, Pira, I just sit there and go through Excel spreadsheets. You see 2% of my time when I do this, but actually I do a lot of admin, a lot of this. If you're wanting to do this, more public speaking, then go and do X, Y, and Z. So you can really start having conversations with those people before you kind of make that jump. And that's what I really want you guys to start thinking, like, okay, these are the things that I love to do. How can I do more of it in my current job? If you've got a lot of more negatives than positives, and think, actually, is this role for me? And actually thinking, right, okay, I'm going to try and do extra bits, but then can I start having conversations with other people where I can up the positive sides a little bit more? Because what you find is, when you're doing more of those activities that are like a plus, like this, for me, I thoroughly enjoy it. Like, I don't even know that it's nearly 8 p.m. I don't want to eat, I don't want to drink, I don't want to, I really want to get all the knowledge that I have, I want to give to all of you guys. So if you're doing stuff like that, you'll find that, I can still then, after the end of this, we'll go for a walk, we'll call my nephew, because I'm not depleted. Why you find that you're really disheartened in your job is actually you're doing a lot of those negative tasks. And then by the end of the day, even if you're only doing it for 3 hours, you're like, do you know what? I just want to sit in front of veg out in front of Netflix and just waste 4 hours. So actually really having these like touch points in your life when you're feeling that drained and you're not doing all of the things that you typically would make time for, it's probably because you're doing a lot of those negative things, which are, I wouldn't even call weaknesses, because I'm good on Excel, but I find it draining. I'd put that as a negative. I can do VBAs and all of those things, but it doesn't inspire me. It doesn't spark joy. So really thinking about, am I doing tasks that I would consider that are depleting for me, or aren't playing to my strengths, or things that spark joy in me? Is what you guys should really, really think about. So even if you're, 6 months down the line and you're in a role and you're thinking, not really feeling this, just remember, let's do a little, I call it like a checks and balances, positives and negatives, what's coming in, what's going out energy wise. And then also thinking, right, let me start having conversations with my manager to do more tasks that I actually enjoy. But then also let me start looking, whether that's internally or on the job market, to start having some conversations about doing work that's actually going to give me the positives. And like I say, a lot of the times, the kind of presentations that Yeti and I are doing, this is probably what, 5%, 10% Yeti of your actual job. Like, actually, it's, most of what Yeti does is calling me, reminding me, Pira, where are your slides? All of this kind of stuff. So, that just having those genuine conversations, because what you don't want to do is leave a good job for another job and then find that you're just job hunting and job hopping and being miserable. Use a cheat code to speak to someone and find out what their day's like, and they'll probably tell you. And then you can kind of make that call before you even make the jump and go through that whole recruitment process and, leaving your friends at work and what have you. There's so many quick ways that you can do that. And then the next activity that we have is, I think I have a link. This is called the Wheel of Life. And it's a really quick exercise that I do throughout kind of every month, or like sometimes when I'm feeling a bit meh, is looking at the different kind of areas in my life. I think, right, okay, how am I on any of these, in every one of these areas? So whether that's romance, family, friends, how's my soul? Like, am I meditating enough? Am I praying enough? Like, my mind, like mental health wise, am I going to counseling? All of these things. Body, like, am I working out the gym, like I said, 2-3 times a week? In terms of growth, am I learning something new? Like, I'm on this AWS course with Mariam, and so actually I'm actually at a 7 or an 8 there. So just thinking about all of these kind of things. Money wise, are you saving as much as you said you were going to save? Just having those little checkpoints are super, super helpful. And I've sent you guys a little link called from a guy that's like a productivity, and he has a little questionnaire that you click through, and it takes 5 minutes to complete. And then you can and it sends it to you, it emails it to you, so you can do it as many times as you want. And you can get a nice little pie chart at the end of it, and it shows you how you're doing in each of these areas. So I've put it in the chat for you guys, and I will put 5 minutes on our timer so that we can all do the activity together. It should take you a lot less than 5 minutes, but I've just given you guys 5 minutes. I did want to say, if you are giving yourself constantly low numbers, try and think of this as you're probably being quite self-critical and being really harsh on yourself. Do this as you would for a friend or or a family member. Like, how would you rate them? Sometimes getting yourself out of your own head, because I started doing this and I was being super critical, and I was like, no, if I was going to judge a friend, how would I judge them? So try and think of that as well. Amazing. So hopefully you guys have had a chance to get all of that done. And you should, because I've done it with you guys, it should show you guys the areas in terms of where it's kind of the map is stretched out further. You're doing really well in those areas, and the where it's closer to the center, the lines, that suggests that those are the areas of growth that we need to have, and that's okay. And I also want you to remember that actually there are some times, and Mariam will be testament to this, that I have less time for going out and seeing my friends at this moment, because I've just been on a course which has meant 3 days, 3 nights out of 5 I'm in class from 6:30 to 9:30, and I work full time as well, so I'm in 9 till kind of 5:30, and then have a bit of a gap if if my work life lets me, and then I kind of go into the course, and then on Saturdays 10 to 4 I'm also in class. So it has meant that I've had to sacrifice small things like going out and seeing my friends, and like I'm revising extensively at the moment. So it's meant that, so someone like Yeti will be testament to this, like I don't check in as regularly as I would. I have caveated this in my life, and I've told everyone what my schedule is, and I have super understanding family and friends who are like, of course we want you to succeed and thrive, let us know how you can help. And I've had friends just say, we'll come round for dinner, even if it's 9 p.m. when you're cooking, and we'll come and eat with you, or we'll order you a takeout. So I'd be really lucky to have that, but also just letting those family and friends know about what's going on in your life. So it doesn't mean that you have to compromise as much, but I did want to say, depending on sometimes on your goals, you might, if you want to go traveling, then your money might not be, your savings might not be as high. And so don't be critical. It's not always, you can't have all the cakes at all times, is what I'm trying to say. And so making sure that you're very clear on some of those goals and which are your most important goals. For example, there's been times in my career where the learning opportunity and the fact that they were going to fund my qualification meant that I would take a salary drop, and that's okay. And that was a decision that I made. But sometimes, you might have a family life that doesn't allow you to do that. So the compromise might be your work suffers and you're doing a bit more of those negative tasks whilst your kids are going through school for a year or two. So please look at yourself with a lot of compassion and kindness. It is not a race, it's a marathon. So, it's a long running thing. It's not a sprint. We don't all need to be Usain Bolt at all times in all of these areas. It's just, on a whole, those areas that are coming out low, are you happy with them? And so just thinking about how it is that you want to work on those areas, and it might be, you don't have funds for counselors, but can you speak to your friends or family members a little bit more to kind of get that balance a little bit more? So just really thinking about where you land on those areas, which are the areas that you want to improve on. I'm quite, I accept the fact that I'm seeing my families and friends less, because right now my career is important and I want to make that shift because the economy is, the way it is at the moment. And job security is super important for me for the next 2 years. So I'm willing to make that sacrifices. So are those scores, are you intentionally keeping them that way? Or is it just life's happened and, these are scores that you're not happy with and that you want to work on? And we can think about small things that you might want to change, whether it's, booking some time in to see some girlfriends or family members, or whether it's, setting aside 10 minutes to meditate every day. How do we make those changes? So just thinking about those scores will give you every kind of month, what have you, just to check in with yourself, because I don't think we do that. And you can do this once you get into a habit, even whilst you're making breakfast or brushing your teeth. Oh, how am I feeling romance wise? Oh, how am I feeling family wise? Like, just ranking yourself 1 out of 10 can really, really help. So that's that activity. And then I wanted you guys to do a truth exercise. So this is, and I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes to do this. So list 10 positive things about yourself that are true. So we're going to say, like, for me, it would be that I'm an aunt, I'm a mum. I'm not a mum. I'm an aunt, I'm a daughter. And I work in M&A. So you can list off 10 things. I'm going to be a bit mean on this one. And I'm going to give you 3 minutes to list off 10 things, but they've all got to be positive for you guys. Whatever comes into your head, it doesn't have to be deep or profound, just 10 things that are true about you. We have 20 seconds left. So if you've got a few more to write down, please do. Amazing. And then if we could go on straight off the back of that to the next one, which is the next exercise, which is another 3 minutes for truth statements. So the amount of same conviction that I said, I am an aunt, I am a M&A professional. I want you to write things that you want to achieve in 12 months. I don't want you to, I've purposely made this 3 minutes. So anything like I am a writer, I am a qualified AWS professional. We want you to write those down as they have already happened. And I want you to believe in every one of those statements as quickly as you and as firmly as you believed all of those other previous statements that you've just written. So I'm going to start the timer for you guys. And please don't think about this. Don't cross anything out. Almost think of it as if you don't write that statement, it's not going to happen. So like that is how much conviction I want you to have. And it could be, I have published a book. It can be any of those things. And it has to be in that you've already done it. We have just over a minute to go. Amazing. So that's the time up. So does anyone want to share their true statement, but not the first activity that we did, but the second one about what you will have achieved by in 12 months' time? Does anyone want to share that? Oh, lovely. And we've got Trezor here. Ah, I'm a driver. Yes, I passed my driving test November of last year. I know, just persevere. And I did it manual. So yes. And please don't be disheartened. I had to take so many more lessons than everyone else. And I passed in one of the most difficult areas in Wanstead in East London, if you know. It's like got terrible, terrible reviews if you look on Google Review because it's so hard. There's like 6 roundabouts. I kid you not. So well done. And you're a coder. I'm a public speaker. You work in the city and you are on, well, I think the last one you already are. And so that's already ticked off. You are already a role model, because there's so many amazing things that you've said that Yeti, Mariam, and I already look up to. So thank you. So that's wonderful. Does anyone else want to share anything? Awesome. Okay.
I was going to say, Kira,
oh, go on, Yeti. Yeah.
I can share mine as well. I was doing this activity in the background. Okay. So I have here that I am qualified and seasoned user researcher. So I lead a user research team. I worked on my social enterprise, and now it generates some like real good income from it. I teach and mentor on the side with young at-risk youth. I impact thousands of young people into getting into their desired careers. I am a home owner, and yeah, those are the ones that I noted down.
Oh, wonderful. And I'm already envisioning this for you, and you're like definitely delivering on so many of those, like impacting so many lives. So I know that is definitely going to be, I can't wait to do a 12-month check-in, and maybe Mariam, we can make it like 12 months check-in next year and see where the group gets up to, because I think we've got the potential to do it.
Yeah, what a fantastic idea. I love that.
And Naya, you've got your car, you've moved to Japan and moved out, you've been to Japan, working as a graphic designer. I'm sure like we'll be tapping up, Yatunde and I have always got side projects that we need graphic designers for. You have an art business, and you know how to ride a horse. Oh, please let me know how that goes, because we're going to try and get my nephew to try and do that as well. So thank you for sharing that. And also, we're all going to be chiseled and muscular. We're going to be the strongest team, all of us. Amazing. And Berth has put in that you're a data scientist, you're training and supporting mums from underprivileged backgrounds. That is such a noble cause. Working on a fintech company with your sister, and family businesses are where it's all at, I hear. So that's wonderful. And you're going on more holidays with your children. That's beautiful. And you're in a choir with your friends. I love how wholesome that is. You've got family, you've got friends, you're traveling, you've got your career on check, like helping the community. Brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing that. Amazing. So if we go on to our next section, so we've kind of looked at where we want to go, where we currently are, and then we're now going to go into a little section around getting to your North Star, getting there. So this is that roadmap that I spoke about. How do we get from where we want to those steps? So now if we go on to the next slide, we have some prompts, and usually I take about 10 minutes, but in the interest of time, I'm going to do 5 minutes, but we'll send these slides to you so that you guys can do this in your own time. So based off of the kind of section, all of the, the 12-month prompts that we've done, pick any one of these questions or a number of them. Ideally, once we're done with this, you can go back and answer some of these questions. But what do you want to learn? Who do you want to be? You can answer any of these questions in alignment with those statements that we said, those true statements that you're going to become, whether it's a data scientist or a driver, so that might be that you pick up driving lessons in your local area. So just those habits that you're going to pick up. So I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes to do that. And remember, we'll have these slides so you guys can go back and answer all of those as well. we just have just over 2 minutes. So if there's any of those questions that you're eager to write something down with, might be the time to do it. We just have just under 1 minute. Amazing. So, does anyone want to put into the chat any of those questions and what they either want to do, what they want to try, anything like that? Or come off mute and share.
I'll do one just for me.
Yes.
I want to do scuba diving this summer.
Ah, yes. That would be amazing.
I love that.
Sarah's put a little surprise face. And Naya's put
Some people don't like water, do they? I just realised might trigger someone. I want to create movies and video games. Brilliant.
Yes. Oh, I mean, please invite us to your premieres. We would love to see them. Amazing.
Definitely.
Ah, thank you. Amazing. And then the final activity you'll be pleased to know is what we're going to do is the 12-month celebration. So if you think about this, though, these are 3 goals. So out of all of the ones that you've written down and thought about in 1 year's time, so from now, if you could just take, I'm going to give you guys 3 minutes to draft a text, and within that text, and that could be to Yeti, me, your best friend, mum, Mariam, whoever, and just say in that text, it has to be one of the goals that you have achieved from your health, work, and relationship. So for me, it is I am a ripped goddess that is now working in an IT role and happily engaged. So these are the things that I would text to all of you guys in 12 months' time. So if you could spend 3 minutes writing that text out. I know sometimes WhatsApp allows or even to like a really good friend or what have you, and that's not going to think you're crazy. I often WhatsApp my mum these things and she's like, what is this? And I'm like, don't you worry about it, mum. So yeah, feel free to draft that text. have just under 1 minute. Amazing. So, does anyone want to share their text that they're going to send in their 12-month celebration to us? I can see a message. Hi, Mum. I'm a data consultant at a large firm. Oh, this is getting me emotional. I've gotten my driver's license and also bought my dream yellow car. I've also started my makeup business. Oh, I can't wait to receive this. I know I'm not your mum, but as a friend, just hey girl, would do. Making me very emotional. And I wanted to say, Awa, that was such a lovely comment about how you want to just not really worry about what everyone thinks. And there's a real interesting quote that I often think back to by Eleanor Roosevelt, and she says, the truth is you wouldn't worry so much about what others think of you if you realize how seldom they do. And honestly, you might just be dinner table talk for 2 seconds, and then people are worried about their mortgages, their own health, their own partner. Like, it might be just 2 seconds, and for that 2 seconds of fleeting comment, you put your entire life on hold. And there's a really interesting book that I will make sure that I send to Miriam, which is like a palliative nurse, and she writes a book about what people regret most, and it's like not taking those opportunities, like not spending enough time with their family and friends, working too hard. So I'll make sure that I send that round to you guys as well, because really, when you look at life, and that's why we did that whole eulogy thing, right? Because all of those lives that you could impact, and you're holding yourself back because of what people currently think, and those people might not even, 90% of them might not even be in your life once you transform into the person that you want to be. So yes. And hey Pira, I'm a graphic designer now. I can't wait to receive these texts. It's giving me chills. I also finally got my six-pack and have Japanese friends. I'm also dating a Japanese man that treats me like a queen. Yes, queen. We love that. And he also loves dancing like me, man. I love this. I love this. Thank you so much for sharing it. If anyone else wants to share, I will definitely have a little peek at that as well. So now what we're here for, and I will definitely hang around as well for questions, because I know we're running a little bit over, but I wanted to give you guys the time to do this, because I think we say, oh, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And then no one ever gives you the time or space. This other stuff, this section 2 stuff, you can bother me on LinkedIn. I can tell you about that. But this actual sitting you down and doing this activity, this is priceless. So I'd rather have got this done. So thank you for being patient with me. So right now I've changed the slide quite a bit actually from what I normally present, because right now the economy, the UK has gone into recession. The economy is really different. We're in a post-COVID world, we're in a post-Brexit world, and it's a little bit different to how normally things operate. So what I would say is, please don't be shy about signing up to agencies, doing a contract gig. You never know. My life at Accenture started off on me doing a 1-month contract, and then they kept extending me, and then I ended up getting a permanent contract and being there for 4.5 years. So please, if you can, and you have the means to be able to allow for a contract role, please do it, especially if you're a career changer at the moment and you're out of work, and the contracts are really good for an easy way for you to expand your network, get into something really quickly. So some ones that I would recommend I'll put in the chat are like Venn Group, Goodman Masson, and Office Angels sometimes come up with some good ones. So just have a look at just even like ChatGPT best agencies for and then type in whatever career you want to get into, and it will give you a list in the UK or in London specifically of some of the agencies. Hayes is also very good. So just sign up to as many. You've got nothing to lose. And they also have a permanent department as well, permanent employment departments as well. So you might get shimmied over into that department as well. I'd also say this is such, like, we used to call it cold calling, but reaching out to people on LinkedIn. Like, hiring managers are usually a bit more susceptible and responsive than recruiters. So just reaching out to them, and like, who cares? Okay, they don't respond to you. It does not matter, because you know what? They're not going to be keeping themselves up at night or thinking over it at dinner. Like, they might respond, they might not. And you hear about all of these like entrepreneurs, whether it's Stephen Bartlett or even Bill Gates, that, you know, the old yellow pages, and ringing through and somehow getting through to someone, you know, 1 in 20 chance, and you just don't know who you might be. You know, they might be sat on the bog or like in the kitchen cooking one day and think, actually, this girl might give her a response. And then there you go, your life's changed. So, you know, you're not going to get a response. So you might as well try and get and win everything rather than trying and not trying and getting nothing. So I just think, shoot your shot. And it doesn't matter, because no one even knows. We won't know that you've tried. No one cares. Literally no one cares. So this is your sign. If you're thinking, should I reach out to that person? My answer is always yes, because you never know where it could lead you. There are a huge amount of like women in tech BAME events. Go to all of them, because they're trying. That's them basically putting out a sign saying, we want you. So that's a great place to network. They'll give you insights into when their next recruitment bouts are, and it's just a really good way to understand the recruitment process, because they'll give you lots of help, hints and tips. Just type in, you know, women in tech events in London on Google, and it will bring it up. If you've paid for ChatGPT or Bard Premium, it will be, you can even type in UK tech events, free UK tech events in London or whichever city you're in, or even in the US if you're from the US or Buenos Aires, and it will bring up-to-date information on like the free events that you can go to. So go there, network. I'm going to one next week because I did exactly the same thing. There's one on big data and AI that I'm even going to on the 6th and 7th in the Excel, and I wouldn't have known that hadn't I put that into ChatGPT. Go to events within your sector, so that like the LSE and big universities will often host a lot of these like speakers events, people publishing books in these events. So it's a really good space for you to meet like-minded people, because you don't just need to speak to the speaker, but the people around you are also good places and people to meet to get you hopefully a new role. And then applications to roles, use definitely ChatGPT and Bard. I don't think it's the best thing to use in terms of getting the creativity, but it's a really easy way to do your spell check. I would always just put, once I've done my CV, just put it in there to make sure that I've not got any spelling mistakes. And I always say, please check in UK English whether this is all correct, and it will grammatically change stuff for you, because especially when you're doing your applications, it can be really, really hard to get all the errors, and you don't have a family friend on hand. So definitely use that. Also just put into the job description you know, ChatGPT, and then your CV as well. So you can say, using that, please could you help using this job description, and then put the job description in, and then say what key achievements I should highlight with my current CV, and then paste your CV in there, and it will process all of that, and it will tell you which key achievements that you can put in there. So it's really good hacks that you can use using AI, not to necessarily write your CV, but to tailor it. And the other thing that I will always say is, for every job description, I will always tailor my CV. I have about 50 versions of my CV, because in my day-to-day job, I do about 80 hours a week. I can't put that into 2 pages. So just looking at what are their essential skills and their desirable skills, and I will always tweak it. And what I will also do is, on the top few lines, make sure all of the stuff that they want as essential, I have that easy to read for the recruiters. And if there are any kind of courses that they want you to have, etc., just make sure that you edit that. So, you know, if they're asking for Java and you've put in Python, it's not going to, sometimes the humans won't pick it up, but especially machines won't pick it up as well. So making sure that you're putting in the relevant skills and qualifications that it's asking for is super, super important. And that's why sometimes putting it into ChatGPT, your like full CV, it can sometimes help tailor that as well. But I will always say, just tailor your CV, spend that 15-20 minutes, tailoring it so that you can increase your opportunities. But then once you've also if before you do that, reach out to those hiring managers and those recruiters to say, hey, what is it that you want to see in my CV? And they'll often tell you. But please don't be disheartened, because there are so many messages that I don't even get round to. I have the best intention in the world, but sometimes, I've been on this AWS course and I've just not been on top of everything. And it's not that we don't want to help you. It's just life gets on top of us. So just keep trying, because someone will eventually cave. So that is my top tips for finding a new role. And then the other thing around kind of if you're looking for graduate roles in particular, and this is specific to Accenture, but some of the big four, is competency versus strength-based interviews. So a competency one is like the traditional model where they say, tell me about a time when you've done this. And that's using that kind of STAR method where they're looking for past experiences of you doing that. So that is what you will normally find, like medium, small size companies do that. And you can literally put into ChatGPT, based off of this description, what kind of questions will I be interviewed for? And like, can you give me the top 10 questions? You can also jump onto Glassdoors. People put in some interview questions and what are the interview strategy. So like whether it's 3 stages, 2 stages, to also look at that. But your competency questions are specifically looking at, tell me about a time, and using that STAR method. Now, other companies that are like usually the larger companies that are looking for a bit more diverse pool will say they're looking at strength-based. So how did you feel about carrying out a task? Now, what they're looking for is that you're smiling, that you're engaged, that you find joy. Remember that positive and negative thing that we were talking about? What they're looking at is that you're passionate about doing this. So you might not have done it, but actually, let's say it's about a question about, tell me about a time when you've managed to keep time effectively. And I can say, well, actually, I was a babysitter for my parents and I loved it. I had 3 younger siblings, and it meant that I had to pick up my sister from nursery, and then I also had to help my younger brother with his homework, and then also make sure that I had dinner on the table for everyone. I mean, this is getting child labor territory, but if you had to do all of that and you were describing it with a big smile on your face, that shows that you were able to do that consistently for 2 years whilst your parents were, doing longer hours at work. That doesn't necessarily mean that you were in a work environment doing that, but it shows that you have the capacity and the capability to transfer those skills here. So you can even type in, please, can I have into ChatGPT strength-based interview questions for Big 4 firms, and it will bring up certain things. And I would say record yourself doing them. So with your phones or on your laptops, record yourself and watch yourself back. It is quite painful, but you would rather see those flaws before you get to that interview stage and someone else picks them out for you. And you can even, say to your mum or your best friend, like, hey, am I coming across as confident and happy in these? Like, what would you say I should do slightly differently? Because strength is all about you getting joy from that and them seeing your willingness to do those type of activities. So those are some of my top tips around competency and strength. And then negotiating your salary, I would just say the key things to do, and we will send this all around to you guys anyway, but like researching and benchmarking, like know your worth. So go on to Glassdoors, see what other people have put out there, because salaries are still not something that we're all comfortable talking about, but people will go and post on Glassdoors. So at least you have that figure. And then I would say, what you're aiming for and what's like the absolute like minimum that you would go for. So you have that kind of, this is what I'm happy to take, but then always go for that larger figure. And I would always say when they ask you, always go for that bigger number, and then you can always talk your way down, because then once you start at the bottom, it's really hard to then talk them up. So those are 2 of the things that I would do. Also, when they're negotiating and they say, tell us about, what salary are you looking for? You can say, well, what's the, what's this role offering? And they'll say, no, you tell us what you're looking for. And I always say, well, the benchmark for this is this and this range. So I'm looking to get into this and this range. What is this role paying? So I would always, and, make sure your range is like about 3K, say, 67 to 70K is what I'm looking for. So you give them that flex and say, I have 5 years worth of experience. I've looked at the market and I have a few colleagues that are in this role and they're looking at 67 to 70K. That's what I'm looking for. But always try and get them to give you a value first before you go that. But if they're really pushing you, then that's why that research really comes into play. And then I'd always say, let them bring up the kind of salary conversation, because then it's much easier for you to start navigating that and negotiating that. And I feel really awkward as a person trying to put numbers out there and saying, what's this paying, blah, blah, blah. But they will always come around to it. Just you let them get there and just say, if they're really not revealing that, just say, what are the kind of salary bands that you've got for this? Because every company will have salary bands. So you can definitely ask that near the end of your kind of interview process with those guys. And then also don't be afraid to walk away. If it's too low, you can always say no, and there is never any pressure. There's been roles that I've walked away from and then they've come back and said, hey, actually, we really do value the experience, and if they like you, they will pay for it. Or sometimes they've come back and said, Pira, like, we really can't do this, but we really would love you to join. And then sometimes, you know, I've also then looked at other things like how much annual leave, what are the other benefits that I have, you know, and those things can also play a factor in your decision making. So really just think about, before you even get into that negotiation salary, which is around the research side, think, is this key skills, what's more important for me, the money right now? And sometimes it can be, you know, your financial situation, money is the most important factor, but actually, do I want that experience? Is that more important? So really play off those trade-offs before we even get into this decision, and then think, okay, actually, if the experience is more important, then I'm happy to take a slightly lower salary. So just really think about this, but I've given you kind of a step-to-step guide that you can read through in your own leisurely time. But yes, I realize that we're out of time, but I just wanted to open it up. I think it's Q&A, right, Yeti? For the next
it is Q&A, but a huge round of applause for Pira, because it's not easy to do what she does, and you've done a fantastic job of us walking through this journey, seeing where we are, where everyone is right now, some of the steps that we can take, our future, what does it look like, and also like just thinking forward, thinking ahead is super important. And so when we're looking around our interviews as well, negotiating salaries, these are all really important tips, tricks, hints that we can take away. So thank you so much for that, Pira. It's incredible, incredibly insightful. And I see all the hands being clapping as well. I know you've got a few minutes. The only other thing, I'll quickly rush past this, but I'd love for everyone to just have a think about what specific thing they will be taking away today and doing. Like, it could be a number of things, but yeah, like honoring yourself. What are the things that I've learned today that I want to take away and do with me, so that in the next 12 months, things look a lot different. So yeah, another thing I wanted to mention is, if you're not on LinkedIn, please get on LinkedIn, jump on LinkedIn. It's so great for increasing your network. There's so many opportunities that I've found there. Been able to connect and do a workshop such as this is through LinkedIn. So it's super important about building your network, building your brand, and everything there as well. Yes, and if you haven't been able to complete any activities Pira shared today, please make time to do it. It's so pivotal, so helpful. And connect, grow. Please, if you feel comfortable, write down your name, share details if you want to connect via LinkedIn. All of that, let's do that. Let's all connect and build your network. You never know what opportunities might present themselves. And as Pira is saying as well, like, you know, there's no harm in shooting your shot. I heard this expression where it's like, you miss 100% shots of the shots that you don't take. So just take that action and just reach out to people, whether it's cold calling, whatever, reach out to people. You never know what opportunities may exist if you take those steps. And then, yeah, we'll open it up for Q&A now. I know we're over time, so forgive us for that. But if there are any questions that anyone has, please post them in the chat and we'll aim to answer them. Thank you so much for listening to our talk.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. Yeah, so I've got to say, Pira, because I know how much work that AWS those sessions are. It is a lot. So to see you be delivering this as well, just the week after you finished, it's just like, wow, it's been fantastic. Well done. It's really great.
That means so much. Thank you so much.
She's amazing. So many different things that Pira does. You think that there's 2 Piras or 3 Piras.
Yeah,
I've got the evil twin in the closet somewhere, I tell you.
Yeah, people are just, I think what you've done is you've just given people so much to think about. They're just like, it's rolling around in their heads at the moment. And yeah, there's just people saying thank you and sharing their LinkedIn profiles, and Yeah. Oh, there is a question. It's for you, Pira. How did you navigate career change from a different career path? Did you face any particular challenges?
Yeah, so a couple of things actually, and I think really like I can't like sell how much like networking is so pivotal. Like network. The reason why I got to do the job hopping is one, I really love the work that I always do. I try and deliver it to like a really high standard. It might not be perfect, but it's like the best that I can give. And just remember, like everyone on the call, like sometimes I am at 10% and I give my 10%, and that is 100%. When you have 10% and you're only giving 10%, remember to be kind and compassionate to yourself, because yes, it might not look like 100%, but that is your 100% for that day. So have that compassion. But I think most people around me will know that I will, you know, really try my best to get work delivered in a timely way to a really high standard. So whilst I was doing that, I was also expanding my network within Accenture. And I don't know if you know, if any of you guys have watched Suits, but everyone used to call me and my team Donna Paulson. So she was the person that knew everyone in the office and knew their backstory. And I think I've genuinely been blessed, I would say, like with the capability to have lots of empathy. And I think a lot of people in this call will be of the kind of same way of thinking, because I feel like attracts like. And I've always really cared about people. And so I really care about how your families are doing and how you are personally, etc. So I really was able to expand my network in a really genuine way. And so people were like, oh, this girl's doing really good work. And also she's really likable. We really want to work with her and she really cares. So when opportunities kind of came up, and you know, we'd have a heart-to-heart, be like, oh, you know, I'm getting a bit bored in my role, blah blah blah. They'd be like, oh, hey, my team's hiring, would you like, we'd love to work with you. And so I was able to, over the course of time, really build those authentic connections. So I would say just being like really diligent with the type of work, they were able to overlook some of the kind of hard skills that I didn't have, because they were like, she's hardworking, she's really lovely to work with. And 90% of your work is about who you work with and how you work with them. So I think being able to be that person that's like, you know, the go-to, whether it's emotionally, you know, work-wise with work woes, and being trustworthy with that, then allowed me to change. I would say, like, you know, because of that, I was able to apply for a number of roles within Accenture. And there's one time where I had like 4 offers. And that was because in each of those interviews, I rarely go into an interview nervous. I always think of it as a opportunity, because I think, you know what, actually, yeah, I'm going to talk about my experience. I never lie on my CV. So I'm like, I'm happy to talk through anything. I can tell you what the weaknesses were in each of those roles, because I think if I lie and get into this role, then I'm probably not going to do a good job anyway. So I might as well just be as honest as I can be. When I took this role, for example, at Tata, I said, actually making time for my family is super important. My dad was unwell at the time, and I said, I might need to take some time out to be with my family. And if that's going to be an issue, then this is not going to be the company for me. And I was able to be like, it's that kind of, I want this, but take me or leave me as you are. I'm going to get there, whether you want me or not. That energy is really appealing to people. So, and I think people are happy to hear your flaws, because they don't want to just hear that you're this perfect candidate that has no issues that going on. So I said, you know, and they said, you know, how much time are you going to need for your dad? And I said, well, I don't actually know. Right now, I haven't had to take any time off, but there might be a time where he gets a little bit sick that I need you to be a bit more flexible. But no, that I will do the 70-hour week, I'll do the 80-hour week. But when I need you, you need to show up, because I'll show up for you. So having those kind of conversations early on has meant that I've been able to have really good relationships with the managers and hiring managers. I did have opportunities, so at Accenture, where I did want to move over to the HR transformation team. And I spoke to a lady there, and there was one role, and it was like 2 people, me and another gentleman who had a bit more consulting experience. And she ended up saying, I don't think you've got the right skill set for this. I think you won't. She hadn't ever worked with me, so she wasn't in my network. So she said, you know, I don't think you're going to cut it in consulting. People that work in the back office doing recruitment generally don't do well in consulting. So I said, hey, I've shot my shoot. Like I definitely did try and shoot my shot. I didn't get there. And then this is like the power of manifestation. I literally wrote in my diary that I would be a consultant within change and HR. someone within Tata, like the director there, reached out to me on LinkedIn, had an interview, and the guy that ended up taking that role at Accenture ended up quitting within 2 months of taking that role up. It's now been nearly like 9-10 months here, and I'm doing longer hours than he ever was, working on projects that are less glamorous than he ever got put onto. So it's just really having that confidence to say, okay, if it's not you, it will be someone else energy, and just really professing that has been really, really important. And then in the background, like right now, as Mariam said, like I really want to get into the IT field, and there are some things that you need to go and get some qualifications in. So for me, it's IT. It's like being a doctor and not going through medical school. Like you within IT, sometimes having that qualification is super, super important, and it shows that you're willing to take that risk. So going and jumping on those courses has also really, really helped to say, hey, whether it's like me getting a HR qualification or whether it's been the IT qualification, just to show those people I haven't got experience right now, but I am interested, that I'm willing to put 35 hours a week into it for 3 months.
Yeah, absolutely. And you really are kind of really powering through it, and putting that time in and driving forwards, and to get your driving license as well, literally driving forwards. That's actually
yeah.
There's a question for you, Tunde. Did you enter into tech from having prior tech experience, and what was your journey into tech, and how would my journey look without prior tech experience? And she was also is Trezor again, as it said, she really likes your name.
Oh, thank you. All credit to my parents for the name.
Yeah, well done, parents.
I'll tell you the meaning after, actually. But with my journey into tech, so I didn't have experience in tech, to be honest. I studied economics, and then I went and worked as a product analyst in a paint firm, and did a master's after working there for a year. I didn't really enjoy that work I was doing. So, and then when I did my master's is when I started getting into tech. And the reason was my master's was, we did some programming language, and I was like, oh, this sounds super interesting. I'd like to learn more about it. And then I started searching for more roles around that area. But what I'm trying to say is you don't need experience in tech to get into tech. My graduate scheme, we had all walks of life in there. So we had people who had experience, people who didn't have experience, but we were all on the same journey as well. So I would encourage you, what does it look like for you without any, say, prior experience in tech, is what you're doing right now. So being at events like Clothing Black Females, opportunities to upskill yourself in like certain things, or if you're taking a course, please do take courses, maximize the opportunities and that they have here around courses. But you don't need to necessarily have a formalized background in tech. I would just say use the time that you have now to upskill and learn about like tech and any upcoming or the latest technology or things, like AI, ChatGPT, all of those things. Like just use what you can get access to help you along your career there. So my journey into tech just happened by chance. I wasn't intentionally thinking that during my master's I want to go into tech. It was behavioral economics. So I thought I was going to get into some sort of psychology aspects, but yeah, it didn't look like that. But your experience doesn't matter when you go into tech. You can really learn on the job. It's one of those spaces in industries where you can learn on the job. There's so many free resources out there to continue with learning as well if there are challenges that you face. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, and also make use of all the free courses that are online, because sometimes it's the starting that's the hardest bit. So, kind of those very early beginner courses, because some, even to get onto some of our short courses, it's better if you've done a bit of work on, by yourself, going through some of the content you can get online. And, when you do the courses, what you'll find is you'll be Googling all of the time and looking for the answers for everything. So get into the habit of that as soon as you can, and just kind of read as much as you can. And Google is definitely your and other search engines, and now large language models are all your friends when it comes to programming.
And sorry, just a point to add as well, on LinkedIn page, my organization Tech 432, we repost a lot of free courses that are shared on LinkedIn. there's so many free courses out there. So I'd encourage you to follow. I can share with you via LinkedIn the latest courses. There was about 20 free courses that I saw, all within AI and in AWS, and like, of course, Code Black Females have their courses, but there's so many free courses out there I'd love to share with you guys.
Well, I think that's been amazing. I think everybody's going to just completely agree with that. Just there's so many ideas and ways of really thinking about what you're focusing on, ambitions for the year. It's a great session, and it's so brilliant to see the ways that you're really just upskilling yourself while encouraging everybody else to do that. It's just brilliant. Absolutely great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this. Great. Bye, everyone. Really nice to meet you all. Wish you all the best. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.